What is one thing you're scared of?
Today, I'm going to convince you to confront it, like I confronted my fear of change. It all began in middle school. From the ages of 8 to 13, I often felt left out and disconnected from the people around me. I told myself that I didn't matter. I shouldn't care. But the truth is, I did. Now, what made it worse wasn't just the feeling of exclusion, but who it came from my own friend group. The people I relied on to make school enjoyable, the ones I trusted to talk to and laugh with, they didn't seem to want me around. Looking back, I realized that some of it came down to how I behaved. I didn't always know how to read the room properly, and I'd end up saying things that would make others roll their eyes or pull away. My grades, my interests, even the sports I liked often became running jokes, and I'd always feel like I was outside the circle. I tried to adjust in my own ways, sometimes cracking jokes, sometimes staying quiet. But it didn't really change much. Whenever it got overwhelming, I turned to my parents for advice. But they'd always end up saying the same thing. If you want something to change, take the first step. Now, at that point of time, it caused me a great deal of frustration every time I heard that phrase, because I wanted someone else to fix my problems for me, and I didn't really want to understand what they were trying to teach me. Over time, I made new friends, but the same pattern seemed to repeat. Different people, same distance. More questioning, more frustration, more questioning of myself. So, as a last-ditch effort, I had finally decided to listen to my parents for once, as one should. I asked myself, what am I doing that might be encouraging this behavior? And slowly, I started to see it. I was, to put it bluntly, highly irritating. I would try to prove others wrong without any basis. I'd pretend to be better than others in their respective niche, knowing very well that I wasn't. I'd make unnecessary comments about others just to sound smart or funny. Apparently, I was bullied as a child, or in reality, distanced. And I felt I was better than others because I didn't react or give in to what they were saying, or to be more clear, trying to say. My parents didn't know how to comfort me according to my expectations. I was right, and everyone else was wrong. So, I was basically the textbook definition of a person who always blamed everyone else for his own mistakes. Until I realized it. They were reacting to the way I treated them. I hadn't realized it, and it changed everything. I began to consciously shift how I behaved. I worked on being calmer, kinder. I stopped making comments that served no purpose. I focused on improving myself quietly instead of trying to prove to others I was better than them. I started listening, really listening to what others were trying to say before I responded. I began to think before I acted. The change wasn't instant, but over 2 years, the teasing stopped, the bullying ended, and the very people that I once dreaded seeing every day, they became the people that made my final years of school truly memorable in the best way possible. The same advice that my parents gave me for years, and that I ignored for just as long, became the foundation I started to build my life on. I began to think before I acted, to consider how my actions and words affected the people around me. That moment, when I stopped waiting for change and started becoming the change, was the start of something new and something great. I didn't know it then, but I was about to start one of the most important journeys of my life, learning to be someone I could be proud of. Over time, I came to understand the universal truth that if you're having a bad time right now, the only person who can make you feel better is you, and only if you initiate that change. I was finally friends with everyone again, and that chapter of my life was closed. But I realized that there were other problems or setbacks that had the same solution. So being a logical person, I attempted to implement it in other areas of my life. Communicating clearly with others, even my own parents, once felt like a mountain I couldn't climb. Public speaking terrified me. But after changing how others saw me, I started to wonder if I could change how I saw myself. I didn't want to be someone who settled for mediocrity simply because it was comfortable. So I pushed, I tried, I took the first step. And that one step grew into a radical shift in my personality, confidence, and relationship with change itself. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that change is not just about personal growth. It's about opportunity. The more we try to resist it, the more we close ourselves off to new experiences. But when we lean into change, when we step beyond our fears, we start to see just how much we're capable of. For the longest time possible, I avoided anything unfamiliar. I clung to what I knew, even if it wasn't serving me. I lost opportunities to try new things, to push myself, to grow. I was, in every sense, the living embodiment of the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But what I didn't realize was this. It was broken. Not in a dramatic, catastrophic way, but in a quite dangerous way. I wasn't excellent at anything, nor was I trying to be. I accepted the average because it was easy. I didn't strive for more. I didn't even know how. Until I tried to change that. And now the change that I was afraid of was now the thing I was most proud of. By this point, I had repaired many of my old relationships, but still found it hard to form new ones. I remained closed off to people I didn't already know, and I was determined to change that. Ironically, the turning point came from a rather silly argument with my sister, one that led me to join the social media team of a well-known youth-led non-profit. There was one problem. I had zero experience in either social media or volunteer work. In fact, 2 weeks after I joined, the president of the organization had to personally show me what Canva was. Suddenly, I carried a real sense of responsibility. I threw myself into learning everything I could, and slowly I grew to enjoy the work. I learned to connect with new people, to collaborate in a team, and to take accountability not only for myself, but for others as well. Within 6 months, I was promoted to Human Resources Coordinator, a role that pushed me to grow even further. This experience sparked a desire to create something of my own. Having seen firsthand the challenges nonprofits face in finding reliable volunteers, and seeing how many students wanted to get involved but didn't know how, I decided to act. Along with a few close friends, I co-founded Oxil, an organization designed to bridge the gap between nonprofits in need and committed volunteers. Over the course of this 3-year journey, I learned how to take initiative, leadership, and how to approach people with confidence. Looking back, I can finally say I've crossed the bridge I once even feared to approach. But do you know what the best part about change is? It's contagious. Now, for those of you in this auditorium who know me, I may or may not have mentioned how I was elected as house captain the year before. I probably have, more times than I should, but one more time shouldn't hurt. In 2023, I ran for house captain. This was my first real attempt at leadership or public speaking. And it was terrifying. I had to speak in front of a large group of students I barely knew, risking rejection and judgment. But I still gave my speech. And although it was terrible, I loved the experience. It showed me that fear might have been keeping me from things I actually enjoyed. But as cliche as it might be, change isn't a straight path. It's full of setbacks, and losing that election really bruised my ego. After all that effort and courage, I slipped right back into old habits. Life became static again. Fear paralyzed me, and I avoided uncomfortable conversations. But my parents' advice never left the back of my mind, and it prevented me from giving up entirely. So I picked myself up and dusted myself off. The next year, I ran again, and this time, I won by a safe margin. So here I am, back on stage, all still part of the student council, although in a different role, as I might have mentioned, continuing to embrace the change I once feared. Even beyond personal growth, embracing change allows us to influence others. When we grow, we inspire the people around us to do the same. By becoming more confident, the atmosphere around me changed too. The same inter-house team that used to cheer when we didn't come last started feeling the need to do better when we didn't come first. The very people that I once struggled to connect with became teammates, collaborators, friends. Change isn't just personal, It's powerful and it's contagious. Confronting your fears isn't just about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about realizing that growth doesn't happen all at once. It's a series of moments, each pushing us toward a better version of ourselves. Each needs us to confront our preconceived notions and fears. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey once said, "My hero is always 10 years away. I'm not going to attain that, but I do have someone to keep on chasing." We are not meant to reach some perfect version of ourselves. We're meant to keep on moving forward. Life isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And the best part, that journey never ends. So I'll ask you the same question once more. What is one thing you're afraid of? It might be change. It might be a skill you always wanted to learn. It might be a subject, as in my case, it's math. It doesn't have to be something big. But even if there's one thing you've been scared of, take the first step today. Because that first step, it could be the start of a transformation you never saw coming. Because on the other side of fear, on the other side of uncertainty, is a person you were always meant to be. So I'll leave you with this. Something two very wise people and my sister once told me. जर तुला जग बदलायचं असेल तर पहिले स्वतःला बदलण्याचा प्रयत्न कर. Or for those of you who don't speak Marathi, if you want to change the world, try changing yourself first. Thank you.